Hey guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
We're two lifelong friends and musicians, but when we're not playing gigs, we like to talk games.
And today on the Game and Gig podcast, we are talking about the new interactive movie hotness to hit the video game scene, The Quarry.
All right, so The Quarry. This has been like the game of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's playing it.
It's hot.
Or
it's real
I should
hot.
say, a lot of people are playing it.
A lot more people playing it than Mario Strikers, I'll tell you that.
I know, it came out the same day.
Rip Strikers.
But we also have been playing The Quarry. In fact, right before we are recording this podcast, right before we recorded it, we finished playing The Quarry.
That's right.
We just finished. So we are fresh off of it. And
We're fresh off of one of the 140-ish endings.
That's right. And we got one of those endings. And we're going to talk about it, give our opinions on the game. We're going to do this spoiler-free, but we are going to give you some opinions on the game and kind of what it's like and kind of inform you of if it's a game that maybe you should pick up or other games in this kind of genre, what they're like. Because this was fresh to you. You'd never played a game like this before.
Yeah, no, I'd never played one of these before. And, like I said in the intro, it's basically an interactive movie.
It is, and that's exactly. It's an interactive film. That's the genre of game in general.
Mm-hmm. And you just make choices, kind of like a modern day Goosebumps novel.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And no, I'd never played a game like that. I had played like one or two of the Telltale games, so I guess I kind of had, because those are kind of like that.
In a way, yeah, they're more like a choose your own adventure type game, right? Not necessarily a.
I mean, they're interactive. Like they have the quick time events and things like that, but they're they're kind of point and clickish.
Yeah.
But it had been a long time, and I thought this one was much better and more well done than the last Telltale game I played, which was like maybe the first Walking Dead one. It's probably the one I played.
Right. So, what is The Quarry? Like we said, it's this interactive movie. You make decisions. You have quick time events. You do all these things as you go. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's really way more movie than game.
Yeah.
Way more movie. There's a lot of just sitting there. You may be sitting there for, cutscenes that last, 10 minutes. You could be sitting there for a while.
Yeah, and then it'll throw in a quick time event, in the middle of those cutscenes, and kind of remind you, oh yeah, I do have to occasionally press buttons. Right. But yeah, it's very movie. It's extremely cinematic. Got a lot of music. Got a great soundtrack. It's a vibe.
Yeah, and it's done with some fairly well-known actors and stuff. It's not like they really put a lot of work into this game. But I think the thing I was most impressed with was the graphics, because the game really looked phenomenal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There were, with some notable exceptions, and that being specifically the water.
The water looked like trash garbage.
And there was some
that was some hot dog water.
Yeah, the water. They had these splashes, and it looked so much worse. I don't know that it really would have looked all that bad if everything else hadn't looked all that good. But in comparison, the water looked really bad. The splashed water. And then there was some, I don't know if it was aliasing or anti-aliasing, where it was like between the models and the backgrounds. There sometimes was a big like halo of
just jankiness.
Yeah.
I've noticed that in other modern games. Like I even noticed that in Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh yeah.
And that had great graphics. But the graphics in this did look really good. We're going to talk about how we played it. Right. I think my graphical experience was a little worse than yours.
Definitely.
But still good. It was still mostly good.
Yeah. So, like I said, we don't want to give away spoilers or anything, but there are, as you play the game, because you're making decisions, there are all these different endings. There's they tout that there's I think it was 140 something possible endings that they said that you could get, which makes sense because you could have essentially you play as maybe 8 different characters, but then there are other characters in the game, and from what I understand, the characters in the game could all either survive or die, and depending on what decisions you make, they will live or not. We kind of went into it with the intention of trying to save everybody.
Yeah.
But
it didn't work out. In fact, the people that I really wanted to save are the ones we lost.
Yeah, no joke. It really was that way.
Yeah, but I think spoiler free, of course. I think we can give the premise of the game. Maybe the setup.
Yeah.
So just so we're not speaking in such vague terms, like Randy said, you're playing as these 8 people, and you are summer camp counselors, and you go to a summer camp. And through some crazy turns of events, things are not as it seems. Mm-hmm. And that's the setup. I mean, it's like a classic horror movie kind of setup. You know, you throw all these people together in a scenario, and
the raging hormones, and there's all kinds of stuff. You know, like every horror movie trope is there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so like you can save them, but there are also characters that you don't play as that can either live or die as well.
Yes.
And it's
like David Arquette.
Right. It's really interesting because this is such a hands-off type game. It's very different than other video games. Mm-hmm. Like it's almost not a video game.
Yeah.
But that being said, it is still really fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
So why don't, I think we played it in a little bit of a unique way.
We did.
You want to kind of share that?
Yeah, so like we had the idea of trying to play this game multiplayer in terms of just kind of like passing the controller back and forth, but we didn't want, we wanted to be able to do it from our own separate homes to make things easy.
To make it look better on stream, because we wanted to stream it, which we did.
So instead of just like physically handing a controller back and forth, we wanted to figure out a way to do this. So what we ended up doing was Daniel remote played my Daniel remote played my Xbox from his computer, and then I was just playing my Xbox, which is really cool because it almost acts as if you're just both using the main controller.
Yeah.
And instead of trading a controller, when it was Daniel's turn, you just pick up your controller. When it was my turn, I'd pick up my controller, and we just played it that way. And it really worked way better than I expected it to.
It worked really well. The very first time we did it, we had just a couple little idiosyncrasies we had to work out, but it worked almost seamlessly after that.
Yeah.
I mean, we could definitely do it again. I think we will.
Yeah, I think that it really worked well to do that. And I think these types of games are really great for doing that, for like passing the controller back and forth, whether it's in person or however you figure it out.
Right.
Because it makes it a much more, like it's like you're watching a movie with friends, It's not like you're on your own watching it. You share this experience, and you also share the
blame. The
blame of like when people die or like when, and it makes it more fun.
Yeah. And it was, this game, like Randy said, I think lended itself really well to doing this because I was remote playing, so I did have a little input lag, but it didn't matter.
No, this type of game it doesn't need like really precise.
Yeah.
There was like a time or two where you needed to be really quick. But literally only like once or twice in the entire game where you really had to be fast reflexes and make it happen.
And I did it.
Yeah, you did it.
I did miss one quick time event, but I swear I did it. And it just didn't happen. I swear I did. But I pulled off everything else.
Yeah. And I did miss a quick time event as well, but it was just because I put the joystick in the wrong direction.
We can't always be right all the time.
So this game is the Quarry was developed by Supermassive Games, which is a developer who specializes in this type of interactive film type game. They're the ones who did probably the biggest game that they're most well known for is Until Dawn. And we'll just have to see if the Quarry holds up and has as much, ends up with as much clout as that game, because Until Dawn is the one that I continuously hear people talking about. And I think it came out back in, I'm going to guess like 2016 or something, because it's...
You are almost right, 2015.
2015, yeah, because it's quite old now. But they also are the developer behind the Dark Pictures series of games. I think it's called the Dark Pictures Anthology or something. And I've played one of those games. But so they are really into this type of game. And this one is not a PlayStation exclusive. The Quarry is not. Whereas Until Dawn was a PlayStation exclusive, interestingly.
Wonder if Until Dawn is scarier.
Until Dawn. Well, see, I played Until Dawn.
That's right.
Yeah, and it is. I'd say it is scarier. Yes. It's less of. It's got less of the kind of like corny horror. Which I think the Quarry really leans into that like corny horror thing.
Yes.
It's more of a. The Quarry is more like, I guess, like a. I don't want to get into too much of the genres and stuff because I feel like it might be a giveaway for the story, but it definitely leans into that, that corny thing.
Yeah,
which it's got
the tropes. It's got the cheesy horror moments.
Right. There's a lot of jokes and stuff.
A lot of jokes.
But it still does have its scary moments. Like it is certainly in the horror genre. But yeah. So yeah, I think that if you are interested in the Quarry and it seems like a game you'd like and you play it and like it, you should definitely try some of the other Supermassive games. But these aren't the only games in that genre. There's also the I can't remember the developer that does like Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human. Like there are a lot of games in this genre, so it's certainly a popular style of game.
Yeah. And I really honestly didn't think I would like it as much as I did.
Yeah, because it's so hands off.
It is very hands off. It's not really the kind of game I normally go for. But it was cool. It was cool. I definitely want to do more.
Yeah. So, do you have any opinions on well, you just said you enjoyed it more than you thought you did.
I did.
Any other like opinions on like the Quarry in general? What? Yeah.
I mean, I really honestly want to see some of those different endings. I may go to YouTube for that. I don't know that I'm gonna like replay. I mean, I don't have it. We played it through you because you had it through GameFly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I'm still thinking about it, although we did just finish it. But
yeah, we did just finish it.
But I'm thinking about I liked the characters for one, and if I didn't care about the characters, it wouldn't have been a good game.
Right.
Like I'm still upset that we lost that first person that we lost because it was the one person I didn't want to lose.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes about how well written and how well executed it is.
And the game does a really good job, and it spends maybe arguably too much time setting up the story.
It does.
But I think because it sets up the characters for such a long time, by the time things get real, you have actually developed a connection with them, so it matters.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a balancing act.
It takes a while for it to really hit the fan.
It really does. It took us it probably took close to 4 hours before things really started to really pick up and get real. And before that, it was just a lot of setting up the story, setting up the characters, making sure that you understood their motivations and which
making
I think
sure you
overall,
understood the mechanics of the game, the quick time events, all that.
Yeah, in a low stakes way,
Yeah, in a low stakes way.
Which I think really did pay off, but it was, I don't know, because I do feel like in some ways they maybe could have done that in a slightly shorter time, but that's such a small nitpick.
Yeah. Now, I don't think you'll ever hear me complain about having too much character development.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I think in this one, it did pay off because every character you really got to know. One exception, which we talked about on the stream.
We did, yeah.
There was this one character that they, for some reason, just didn't give any backstory to. They really didn't develop much.
I think that was our fault. I think we made some choices that made that character kind of fade to the background.
Okay, well,
that's what I think. I talked about one pivotal choice I think we made.
Right, which is going to be extremely vague to anybody watching, but
yeah,
I think that depending on how you play it, you can find out more about the characters depending on how you do it and what decisions you make. One thing that I think is interesting about this is that the Quarry was, I didn't see anything about it until maybe like just a few weeks before it was released.
Yeah.
I had not heard about it. Somehow I missed it. And then like a couple weeks before it released, I started hearing people talk about it. And then I was like, dude, I have to play this game.
Yeah.
I don't know how it slipped under my radar, which makes me think that it must have gone under other people's as well.
Yeah. I had heard of it, but I didn't really care because it didn't seem like my kind of game.
Well, fair enough.
But I was wrong.
No, yeah, it ended up being really high quality. I think that it's going to, like I said, Until Dawn was this company's like biggest game up to this point. They've done other games, but Until Dawn was the one that everyone always talks about. And I think it's just going to take time for us to decide as a gaming collective if the Quarry was as good or better or, worse than Until Dawn. But I think that there is a chance. And I think it just all comes down to, as we kind of ruminate on it a little bit and kind of chew on it. Yeah.
I'm going to ruminate on this thing for a while, I'd say.
All right. So that's our thoughts on the Quarry.
Yeah.
I think it's if you're interested in this type of game, give it a try. So we did a poll.
Yep.
And we asked, have you ever played an interactive film or an interactive film game?
Yeah.
Hit us with them results, Daniel.
Let's see. So 39% of people, which ended up being the highest percentage, said yes and that they enjoy them. 16% said yes, but it's not my thing. 28% said no, I'm not interested in that style of game. And 17% said no, but I'd like to try one. So kind of a mixed bag here.
Yeah, very mixed. And I get that, like, if you've never played one of these games, or even if you have played them, I could see how they wouldn't be your thing. So that, like, almost 30% of people who say they're not interested. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I get that because it's not a normal video game at all. And if you're used to more action, it's weird because there is action, but it's like the action of a movie. It's very like, laid back action. You don't have to really participate in it that much. Mm-hmm. But it is interesting that the majority of people, or what ended up being the largest percentage, said that they do enjoy them.
Yeah, that actually kind of surprised me just because I feel like it's so niche. I didn't expect that to be the highest percentage of voting, but...
Oh, I just realized that. I was saying that the people who said, no, I'm not interested, haven't played that type of game yet.
Yes.
So that would have been you before you played.
That would have been me before I played it, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's worth trying, even if you think you might not like it.
I think it is. I was converted.
Yeah. If you can find... I wonder if, like... I know that Until Dawn is, like, often part of the... PlayStation, and I'm sure it's on PlayStation Plus, the new PlayStation Plus service. I'm sure it is. I'm not 100% positive, but I would bet money that it is. And on Game Pass, I think the first game in the Dark Pictures series is on that, or at least it was when I played it. So there's a chance that if you have one of those subscription services, you might be able to have a place that you could try at pretty low risk.
Yeah.
That being said, also those Dark Pictures games are super cheap at like GameStop and stuff, and probably Until Dawn is as well.
They're not exclusives though, right?
No, they're like everywhere. Yeah, but Until Dawn's only on.
Are any of these games or games like this on Switch?
None in the Supermassive Games. I don't think any of those are on Switch. Not that I'm aware of. I don't think so. So. Moving on to comments. Jake C says, the Dark Picture series / Until Dawn are fun to play with friends in a couch co-op style. The games themselves aren't amazing, but getting to play something like this as a group where you watch it for a bit, then take over the controller and see the mystery unfold is pretty fun. And I'd say that's exactly our experience. That is exactly what we went through. We did that, and that's actually what brought me to these games in the first place, was wanting to do it this way. I tried to play Until Dawn with Catherine, and she's not into horror, so we ditched that. But it is really fun just to pass the controller and to have a little fun, just sharing the experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very fun. So next up, we have Larry House, longtime commenter, said, yeah, Until Dawn is amazing.
Yeah, everyone's talking about Until Dawn.
Yeah, apparently you can't talk about the Quarry without talking about Until Dawn.
Well, from what I understand, the Quarry is a spiritual successor to Until Dawn. So, I don't know I really don't know how, because I played the games and they're not related in any way. They're different stories. It's completely separate. But maybe they were trying to keep in that same vein, same genre. I mean, there's a lot of things that are similar, but maybe they did that. Maybe they called the Quarry a spiritual successor just to drum up, like, hey, you guys liked Until Dawn, you're going to like the Quarry.
Right.
Maybe they're trying just to connect it in some way.
Yeah, makes sense.
Celeria Rose writes, and thank you for commenting again, writes, yes, though my enjoyment varies. It very much depends on how much it can draw me into the story. With a lot of games, I can get by on a story that doesn't quickly grab me or is just mediocre, provided the rest is enjoyable, but interactive film type games don't have that fallback for obvious reasons, so I tend to be a lot more picky about them. Off the top of my head, the only ones that really clicked with me were Walking Dead Season 1. I can't read the rest of this comment because it is hidden. But I do there is more.
Yeah, I played a little bit of that Walking Dead Season 1 as well.
Continue it.
Never played further because it glitched somewhere around the 4th or 5th episode and I lost my data and didn't have the desire to replay all over again.
Yeah.
Until Dawn, one of the few I've gone so far as to replay, and Tales from the Borderlands, which was in part due to me already liking the Borderlands franchise. Beyond that, a lot of Telltale's work just didn't really appeal, and I have a general dislike for everything David Cage has released.
So David Cage, that's the guy behind Detroit Become Human and I think Heavy Rain. And so, yeah, I think that obviously, like this comment says, the story has to be good because you're not gonna with a game like this because you're not that interactive with it. The story and the characters have to be really good. And luckily with the Quarry, I think that was one of its strongest suits. The characters were all interesting. They were all flawed,
Right.
but that just made for a more interesting story.
It did.
Yeah. Let's see here. I think that's all the comments. But yeah, I think that again, if you are interested in this type of game, all those there's a bunch of options there that came up in the comments. A lot of things that people like. Obviously, it seems like people are really into Until Dawn. But then again, I think the Quarry will end up giving Until Dawn a little bit of a run for its money.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was really well done, and I kind of want to play it Until Dawn, so I can't really compare them, but I can see how it would.
Well, we can do that. We can play Until Dawn. That'd be a fun one.
That would be fun.
I've already played it, but it's been a couple of years. You know, I don't even exactly remember the storylines. I remember some of the characters. Yeah, but I don't remember a whole lot about it.
All right, Randy. Well, I think that brings us to our final segment here. What games are you playing?
What games am I playing? Well, obviously, I've been playing The Quarry. That's no surprise. But beyond that, primarily this week, I have been playing a mixture of Mario Strikers, which I'm a little worried about because I'm afraid that game's going to die very quickly.
I am too.
And I really am upset about it. I'm not upset, but I'm disappointed.
I'm upset. I'm a little upset. I mean, disappointed is just a speed bump on the way to upset town.
And like, I'm trying to think like, I don't know that I can be that disappointed yet because it's not like we're only 1 week out.
And we haven't even started the main part of the game yet, which
starts
is the Battle
tomorrow.
League. Yeah.
So at the time of this recording, tomorrow is the day that what is the Battle League? It's like a ranked worldwide ranked thing that's going on.
Yeah.
And it's not like right now I can't find people to play because if you go online, you're immediately going to be matched. Like, there are plenty of people playing it, but it does seem like I've seen a lot of negative reviews online about it.
I think YouTubers did a number towards killing that game. Not all of them, but it just seemed like so many reviews said, "Oh, it has such good tight gameplay. It has such a propensity to just be so deep with the strategy." But I'm now going to spend the last 2/3 of my review complaining about the fact that it doesn't have a lot of content.
Yeah.
And what's more important here, like content in a sports game, like a career mode or whatever, in a Mario sports game, like who gives a crap? I think.
Yeah.
Or gameplay.
We talked
what's
about
more
this.
important?
We talked about this last week on the podcast. It's like that thing like they're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. If they put one in and it doesn't do well, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, this is not enough."
Yeah.
Or this career mode is no good because they're trying to force a career mode upon a competitive sports game.
Right.
Like hardly ever is that done well because it's very hard to do that well.
Yeah.
And then if they don't do one, everyone's going to complain that it's not there.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's tough.
And I understand the criticisms of the trickle feeding content. I get that. And
that's a criticism that I certainly have.
Yeah, it's valid. But that doesn't mean it's a bad game. So.
No, it's not a bad game. In fact, it is fun. I think it can be very deep, and I think that learning it takes some time. And those are the types of games that can have legs if a community takes to them, and it takes some time to learn. You got to really be good at it. Like I think of Rocket League. Like this game is most comparable to me in Rocket League, not in that it's a soccer game. Yes, that's part of it, but also it's similar like level of depth and stuff. Like I think Rocket League has a lot of that. It's easy to pick up but hard to master.
Yeah.
And this game is definitely that way too.
Agreed.
But I'm afraid it's going to die because I've just seen so much negative stuff on YouTube. But maybe that'll pass.
Maybe.
But I think about games like, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and that didn't have that initially upon release. No one was like, complaining about it that much.
But it also had the complete opposite approach of Strikers. Like Strikers, the criticism is it doesn't have enough content. Everybody was saying about Smash Ultimate, how the heck did they put so much content? You know,
Right.
how did they put so many characters, and how are we going to get more? Who are we going to get? Like, and they had like that was always a thing Nintendo had in their back pocket. Like if they didn't really have anything coming up, they could like release a teaser for the next Smash character.
Right.
You know, so that game was destined to have legs.
Yeah.
I mean,
they did everything right, you know.
Yeah.
And I think with this one, now that you kind of put it in that context, it makes me think that like maybe they messed up by only having the 10 characters.
I think they
you
did.
know, and maybe they messed up by only having the 5 different courts or whatever they're called, the arenas, stadiums or whatever.
Courts.
I was thinking the tennis game, you know?
Please.
But there's like the 5 different, you know, environments. Mm-hmm. So there's really not that much content. And you have to rely strictly on how much fun is the game to play.
Yeah.
And I do think the game is really fun, but I don't know. It's not Smash level fun.
You know, it's certainly not. Nothing is.
And maybe it takes, and you know, I compare it to Rocket League, and it's not Rocket League level fun.
No, it's not.
So I don't know. I'm torn. Even I'm torn.
Yeah.
But I do think the game deserves some legs.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that it's like, because I want to keep playing it for a while, and maybe because it's just, you know, the game of the week.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, it's like I told you, man, that time I got on Twitch, there was like 1.4 thousand people watching that game. And there was like 60,000 watching the Quarry.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So obviously one of those games has proven to be much more popular. But then again, the Quarry is a much more streamable game.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas this Mario Strikers game is so chaotic. Mm-hmm. You know?
And it's hard to play and interact with your chat.
Very.
I don't even know how you would.
Because it's just so like you have to be so intense, you have to be so focused. It's not a great streaming game. And oftentimes being a good streaming game can make or break. Think like Fortnite.
Yeah.
Such a good streaming game.
Yeah.
You know, games like Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
Great streaming game. It's a good thing. You got action, but you also have time to interact with your chat and like. So a game that is not good for streaming, that could break it.
Yeah, you could.
But also the game that I've been playing a lot this week is Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. So I've been playing that a lot this week, and I made the decision yesterday morning after a couple hours session. A particularly difficult couple-hour session, I made the decision that I am going to abandon that game. I'm not going to see it through. I have played about a third of it, and I just decided it wasn't for me.
Yeah. And that's rare for you.
Well, yeah, it is rare for me. I usually see a game through, but, you know, I knew that there was quite a lot of this game left, and I wasn't particularly enjoying the gameplay. You know, it's a stealth game, which is all about, you know, really being intently focused and making sure that you have everything planned and then going through with your plan and, you know, being perfect.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at games like that. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the parts when I could just go in guns a-blazing, but as each mission got harder and harder, it got to be where you just couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. You just couldn't go in and just gun your way through a level. You were going to die. There was no way about it. You had to be stealthy. Mm-hmm. And I don't really like stealth games that much.
Yeah.
So, and the story wasn't that captivating.
Well, send us some hate if you're a big fan of the Phantom Pain, because Randy just crapped on your game.
No. It just wasn't for me. I think that the game was really high quality, and I get like that. I think it could be amazing. I know like the Metal Gear series is a you know, a game that lots of people love, has a lot of people who are, you know, really have been into that series for a long time. Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, that the Phantom Pain is a good game.
Yeah. People seem to like it.
But it's just not for me.
I feel you.
It's probably the last Metal Gear Solid game or Metal Gear game in general that we're going to see.
Yeah. Could be.
Yeah. I mean, like, unless Konami doesn't make games anymore, so.
Yeah.
What about you? What you been playing this week?
Sea of Thieves. Lots of Sea of Thieves. Ever since I hit summer break, I have been hitting the seas hard. I would go as far as to say I have completed my transition to mouse and keyboard. I think I'm better than I was, so I would call that a completed project.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of fun. I played some Smash, of course. I've been playing Mario Strikers, as we already talked about. and the Quarry.
And the Quarry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a good week for gaming.
It has.
A lot of stuff. I think that we've had a good week in that the 2 new games that came out this past week, Mario Strikers and The Quarry, they both came out. Well, it's been over a week now, but the ones that everyone was playing this past week were both really good games. But it does seem like, for whatever reason, more people have been interested in The Quarry than Strikers.
Yeah, it does. It does. And I'm not saying The Quarry doesn't deserve it. I just think Strikers deserves a little bit of love too.
Yeah. Well, that happens when you have 2 games that come out at the same exact time.
Yeah.
They're gonna compete.
Yeah.
And I would have expected Strikers to easily take the victory in terms of which one would be more popular, but it doesn't seem like it's been that way.
No, it doesn't.
What can you do? What can you do?
All right. Well,
I think we had a little bit of a shorter podcast today, but you know what? That's okay. Yeah. And until next time, guys, I'm Randy.
And I'm Daniel.
And this has been Gaming Gig.
Peace out.